On today's episode of Locked On Wild, NHL Network's top 20 wings right now list came out. We know Kirill Kaprizov's on it. Is that it? In the words of Yoda, there is another.
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team each and every day. And we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we'll take a look at the NHL Network's top 20 wings right now list. We can expect that there's going to be one name on the list from the Minnesota Wild roster, but we'll take a look at the second Wild player that cracked the top 20. We'll also talk today about the Athletics contract evaluations, looking at good and bad contracts for every team in the NHL. One contract in particular made the not so good list. Take a guess. My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, host of Seth on Sports, and credentialed media member, joining you for a Wednesday edition of the show. The NHL Network rolled out their top 20 wings right now list. Taking a look at the top 20. According to their panel of experts, their top 20 wings heading into the 2025-2026 season. Obviously, we expect that Kirill Kaprizov's going to be on that list, but wait until you see who made the cut in the second spot in that top 20. So I'm going to, for the video audience, I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to show you this list. So we have, as you can see on the graphic here, number 20 is Adrian Kempe of the Los Angeles Kings. Solid player. Not a surprise to see him on that list. Take a look at who's number 19 right here. That would be none other than Mr. Matt Boldy, coming off of a season in which, as we've talked about with Boldy, career high in points, 73, 27 goals on the season. He played in a full 82-game season. He had an even better postseason than he did regular season, with 5 goals in the 6 games played. And it really does feel like NHL Network is kind of buying the stock of what Boldy was able to do in the postseason to take a step up from what he did in the regular season. And we've been waiting for that for the last couple of seasons. It's just, okay, Matt Boldy's a really, really good player. We want to see him kind of take that step and elevate his game to even another level and become one of those 35-goal routine, 40-goal type players. It feels like he certainly has that in his bag of tricks. But as we'll talk about after we go through the full list, I'm a little surprised, even considering that, to see him in this top 20. Number 18, as you can see on the screen, Philip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators, prolific goal scorer. Alex Ovechkin, the most prolific goal scorer in the NHL, coming in at 17. Jason Robertson at 16 of the Dallas Stars. Clayton Keller at 15 of the Utah Mammoth. Brady Tkachuk, 14. Brandon Hagel of the Lightning, 13. Jesper Bratt of the New Jersey Devils, coming in at 12 on the list. And, of course, Jake Gensel, who is pictured in this graphic, comes in at number 11. And if we look then at the other portion of this list, the top 10, which looks a little something like this. You've got Artemi Panarin at number 10 of the New York Rangers. He's been a very, very good goal scorer over the last few years. Kyle Connor at 9. Sam Reinhart at 8. Matthew Tkachuk at 7. William Nylander at 6. Mitch Marner at 5. Mikko Rantanen at 4. Kirill Kaprizov at number 3. Then David Pastrnak at 2. And Nikita Kucherov at number 1. I don't really have any objection to any of these. I would say, not to rile up Bruins fans, but I would say it's probably pretty even between Kaprizov and Pastrnak. If you want to say, well, Pastrnak has been far healthier, okay, fine. That's a perfectly good tiebreaker between the two. But Kaprizov, just a unbelievably prolific goal scorer. But Nikita Kucherov as the premier setup man and also a good goal scorer himself. It's not like he's just an assists guy. He is perfectly capable of scoring himself. He really is the full package, and I have no problem with him as number 1. I think you could make a compelling case for either Pastrnak or Kaprizov at number 2. I would say, as good as Mikko Rantanen is, I think when Kaprizov is fully healthy, I think he just hits another level. So I like Kaprizov in the top 3. And if you want to talk about the Matt Boldy side of things, I mean, 4 through 10, they're all better, which is not a bad thing. I mean, he's still a young enough player that he's going to work into hopefully a higher spot on this list. But just at this point, he's still got a little growing to do as a young player in the NHL. So let's look at this. Let's look at the rest of this list here. So you got Philip Forsberg, who is in his mid-30s. So he's got some years on Boldy. And I think if Boldy, I think you give Boldy a couple more years, and if he gets close to and exceeds the 30-goal mark a few more times, I think you're going to see him probably vault over Philip Forsberg. As far as Alex Ovechkin goes, comparing the two, it is interesting though, because considering where Ovechkin is at in his career, he's in the last few years of his career, but he's still very, very productive. I feel like these players are all, I don't have any issue with them being in front of Boldy. Like I said, I'm honestly just kind of surprised that that Boldy's getting the recognition and getting the love to even be on the list, considering some of the names that are on this list. Now, looking at these statistics, Kirill Kaprizov right now, since he came into the league, since the 2020-2021 season, Kirill Kaprizov is 9th in the league with 185 goals in 319 games. The most games played in that span is Sam Reinhart with 375. So you are 56 games fewer than that. I think in 56 games, Kaprizov could probably get himself another 15 goals. So if he had those 56 games, he's probably looking at 200 goals, which puts him above Connor McDavid and puts him in 4th on the list behind David Pastrnak, who has 211 in that same span. Pastrnak certainly has plenty more assists as well. He's got 454 points in 366 games. So it's not like I'm saying he is not worthy of being in the top 3, because he obviously is. But I feel like you just kind of can make your own case for either of those players being in those spots. Kaprizov, by the way, since he came into the league, he's 15th in the league in points with 386. Nikita Kucherov in that same span, he is 8th with 447. Connor McDavid far and away leads the way, but He is also a center. So keep that in mind as well. That's a separate list that has yet to be unveiled. So we're talking just about the wings here. And the most scoring as far as a wing goes is Mikko Rantanen in that span with 455 points. He's tied with Artemi Panarin. David Pasternak's 1 point back. Mitch Marner's got 450. Then Nikita Kucherov, Matthew Tkachuk, Jason Robertson, William Nylander, and Kirill Kaprizov in that order. So you take out the centers, and Kaprizov does find his way into the top 10 as far as the scoring goes. So it's an interesting list, and it's nice to see Matt Boldy get some love from the national media, considering that he was also put on NHL.com's top 10 forwards under the age of 25 list. He was number 3 on that list, ahead of Wyatt Johnston, ahead of Cole Caulfield, Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, Matthew Nyes, Seth Jarvis, and Matvei Michkov, only behind Jack Hughes and Tim Stützle. Those are the only 2 forwards on this list that were above him. One of the more prolific scoring players in his entire draft class. So it's nice to see Boldy getting some national love. These lists are 100% subjective. It's not like it's a written law that these lists are binding, but it is just nice that there are national people out there who say, hey, Matt Boldy's pretty dang good and deserves placement on this list. So 2 players, as we said in the open, Master Yoda's words himself, there is another. 2 players in the top 20 list. That's pretty nice. We like that. When we come back, we're going to start a look at the Athletics contract efficiency rankings. We'll dive into the Minnesota Wild. We'll see where they're at as far as other teams go. You'll be surprised where they land on this list. We will discuss as we continue today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. We're getting close to NFL season, and FanDuel is the perfect complement while you watch your fantasy football team win in your league. You can watch them win on the field with FanDuel. With their wide array of player props and same-game parlays, you can pick your player to score a touchdown and win twice. So, if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Again, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube, and also follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. If you are so inclined to leave us a 5-star review on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify as well, if you leave us a 5-star, there's a good chance it's going to get read in a future episode. So if you want to get a little shout out on an upcoming episode of Locked On Wild, give us a little love in the ratings section. The Athletic put together a list as far as the most efficient teams from a contract perspective go in the entirety of the NHL, and it takes a lot of different metrics into consideration. The main thing being, are you outperforming your deal? Are you adding surplus value to the contract that you signed with your respective team? And are you able to do that for the duration of the deal? Those are the biggest factors for this grading scale. And you'd be surprised as to where the Minnesota Wild landed on this list. We'll talk about the list here in segment 2, and then in the third segment, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty as to which players ranked the best as far as their contracts go, and which players ranked the worst. The Tampa Bay Lightning, who were 13th last season, have now vaulted themselves all the way up to number 1, largely buoyed by the fact that Jake Gensel, Nikita Kucherov, and Brandon Hagel are all vastly outperforming their current deals. Kucherov on a $9.5 million contract is playing at a $15.8 million value. Brandon Hagel at a $6.5 million AAV contract is performing at a $12.6 million value. And Jake Gensel, who signed for $9 million per year for 6 years, he's performing at a $10.8 million per year player. So you're getting surplus value for all of those players. And all those contracts rated in the A- category. Just a couple of C pluses. Just a few C pluses on the list, including Andrei Vasilevsky, who is his value is starting to decline a little bit. He's still operating at a pretty high rate, but starting to slip a little bit. So the Lightning, number 1. Carolina Hurricanes are number 2. The Colorado Avalanche are number 3. Nathan McKinnon at $12.6 million per year. He's playing at $18.3 million value. Cale Makar, $9 million per year for the next 2 seasons on his current contract. $15.4 million value per year. So those are massively good bargains for the Avalanche, which lead them at 3. They were 3rd last year. Florida Panthers are number 4. The Brad Marchand contract largely buoys this. Sergei Bobrovsky and Seth Jones as well. And Sam Bennett's deal, surprisingly, as well, negative surplus, which is why they are 4th. 5th on the list, the Ottawa Senators. Nice young team, getting some good value there. Dallas Stars are 6th. Vegas Golden Knights are 7th. The Edmonton Oilers are 8th. Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid playing like $16+ million players. Connor McDavid at $16.8 million. Leon Draisaitl at $18.4. The New Jersey Devils are 9th. Again, a lot of A's here. The Winnipeg Jets are number 10. And this is, again, largely buoyed by Connor Hellebuck, who is playing like an $11.9 million goalie with the value he's adding. His contract's an A+. Josh Morrissey's contract is an A+, which is putting the Winnipeg Jets at number 10. Number 11 is your Minnesota Wild. Last year, the Wild ranked 19th. Well, what happened between last year and this year? What happened notable in the contracts department that led to this big jump? Oh yeah, a couple of large contracts came off the books that now are strictly buyouts and are minimal money on the cap. But I'll just read what the Athletic said, the contributors said about the Minnesota Wild and their place on this list. Finally, the onerous parts of the Zach Parise and Ryan Suter buyouts are off the books. And the Wild are flush with cap space and promise. With only one truly bad deal, I'll save the name for later, but I think you can probably guess who it is. And a few great deals on the books, the Wild sit on the edge of the top 10. Most of that is driven by Matt Boldy's deal, one of the league's best, but it also helps that Joel Eriksson is a steal for the next 4 years to go along with 3 other one-year deals with a 90% chance of bringing positive value. Kirill Kaprizov's up for a new contract, and we'll see what happens there. But for now, he's one of the largest bargains for the 2025-2026 season. That group, along with Philip Gustafsson, is what drives Minnesota's near top 10 placement, with everyone else's deals being mostly fair. Now, I will say, and again, I'm going to dive into the particulars in the final segment here. The Wild have 3 A's. They have 4 B's, 7 C's, 8 C's, and 1 D+. Now, this is the main, these are the main, these don't factor in the ELCs or anything like that. It's the main contracts that are on the roster and the contracts that we've actually seen players, perform in. So obviously it's not the full roster that's factored into this, but it is interesting just to see kind of what value is being brought by whom and where no value is being brought by others. So we will dive into who is providing the best values and who is providing no value. That's on the way as we finish today's episode of Locked On Wilds after this. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Once again, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. So we're taking a look at contract efficiency according to The Athletic, and they rate players based off of the surplus value that they offer compared to their current contracts. Minnesota Wild ranked 11th on the list, just ahead of the Utah Mammoth. The contract that has obviously buoyed this in a positive way, I might be using the word buoyed too much. Matt Boldy, who was signed for the 7x7. He's a couple years into that deal, but he still is signed at a $7 million AAV. He's playing at $12.3 million of value based on his current performance. And if you factor in and take into account, that he's going to age, and at some point, you're maybe not getting as much of that surplus value. You may be getting more. His total expected surplus value on his current contract, $26.6 million. So that contract grades out at an A+. I think, as we said, as the everydayers will remember, we said at the time that he signed that deal that it has potential to be a pretty good bargain, to say the least, for the Minnesota Wild, and it's certainly looking like it's going to be. Joel Eriksson, who we talked about the other day, he is playing at a $9.2 million value compared to his $5.3 million for the next 4 seasons. So he's generating surplus value of just under $4 million. His total surplus on his deal is expected to be $15.8 million for the duration of it. So he's giving you roughly $4 million of surplus value each season on that thing. So that contract gets an A. Kirill Kaprizov, in the final year of his deal at $9 million, he is playing at $14 million in value. So he's giving you $5 million of surplus. His contract gets an A-. As far as the other positives go, there are just 4 other players that graded out as positive. Matt Zuccarello, on his $4.1 million deal to stay, final year of his deal, took a bit of a pay cut to come back. Well, he's still playing at a $6 million player as far as value goes, so he's generating you $1.9 million in surplus. His contract gets a B+. Marcus Johansson, some crazy how. This might be a good indicator that it's better to use the eye test sometimes, because Johansson's value, $2.8 million. He signed for $0.8 million for 1 year, generating $2 million in surplus value. So that grades out as a B+. Jake Middleton defensively, signed for $4 million for the next 4 seasons. He's playing at $4.3 million. So slight surplus, but he's at least matching the value of that dollar amount. His total surplus is expected to be $1.4 million. And then Philip Gustafson, this one actually kind of surprised me a little bit. He signed for just under $3.8 million in the final year of his deal. He is playing at a $7 million value. So he's giving you $3.2 million in surplus. His contract grades out as a B. I figured it'd be a little higher than that. We'll see what his next extension looks like if he gets one with the Wilds. It's my guess is it's going to have to be somewhere in at least the 6s. If you can get him to sign a team-friendly deal, going to have to be in the 6s, probably in the 7s. Now, the other contracts, and these are all slight, like Ryan Hartman is meeting his basically dead even, according to the Athletics model. He's playing as a $4 million player as far as value goes. He signed for $4 million, so his contract basically is the break-even point, C-plus value for that contract. Marcus Foligno is a slight drop in value. He is playing as a $3.3 million per year player. Vladimir Tarasenko, same thing. So the players that are giving you small amounts of negative surplus, Ryan Hartman, Marcus Foligno, Vladimir Tarasenko, Nico Sturm is another interesting one. The Athletic they do not appear to like him at all. He is valued at $0.8 million per year. So you're getting a negative $2.4 million surplus there. The one that the model just hates is Yakov Trenin. They value him at $1 million per year. So like essentially a vet minimum player. And they say that his contract will generate negative $7.6 million in surplus over the duration of it. Wow. That's not great. On the defensive side, this is something that we have talked about a little bit with Jonas Brodin and Jared Spurgeon. They're either at or slightly below their current contracts. And so this is, Jonas Brodin being signed to $6 million per year for the next 3 seasons. He's basically meeting that salary level with his performance. So he gets a C+. Jared Spurgeon is slightly below his current salary of $7.5 million. He's at $7.2 million. So again, not a huge dip, but a dip, not positive value. And that is going to, you would think, continue as those two get older, as the games played kind of pile up and as the injuries mount. So you're starting to get negative value on those contracts. But those contracts, when they were signed, you're getting great value on the front end. That's just how the contract situation works, is as players age, as they get older, you start to lose the value at the end of the deal. Brock Faber, slightly below his salary at the start of his brand new deal, the 8 by 8.5. But as we talked about when we evaluated Faber's 2024-2025 season, there's still a good player in there. Like, I'm not concerned about that. And if he bounces back from this past season, and it's not like it was a terrible season or anything like that. It just wasn't as dynamic as his rookie year was. So if he takes a step forward, then he's going to generate positive value on that contract. But he got a C+. And then Zach Bogosian generated value at $0.8 million. He signed for 1.3, so his is a negative surplus. He gets a C. So this is, I think it paints an interesting picture, but it's not a picture that we are unfamiliar with, because this is kind of what we have been discussing over the last couple of years since some of these extensions have been signed. Is, these guys, these veteran guys, if they can provide you positive value on those contracts, they're going to be looked at as fine. But if they're just meeting or if they're not getting to that level that you sign them to, then those look like bad deals. So right now they're looking, they're basically breaking even, but it seemed like it at the time. It's looking more and more like it now. If you are frustrated about the Yakov Trenyan deal, the Athletic fully supports your frustrations. So just thought this would be a fun kind of a dive into a couple of non-player evaluation topics. And it's nice to know that national media views the Wild as having 2 players that are borderlining on the top 20 as far as wings go. So let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you think Matt Boldy deserves to be in the top 20? Do you think it's a little too high for him? And which contract do you like the most that the Wild have signed right now, and which do you like the least? Let us know in the comments section. But that'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We've got them for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.